Well, howdy everybody, I'm Jordan for Stockshow Confidential. Well, I'm standing alongside of Jonathan from StandAlone Feed. We'd like to welcome them as one of our new sponsors. Now, Jonathan, let's talk about StandAlone Feed, how the concept started, what gave you the idea. There's a lot of product out there on the market. What makes yours different?
Well, when we first looked at it, we thought, there seemed to be a place for a new product. You go out there and look, and a lot of the products out there only address one symptom of, raising livestock, whether it's promoting hair growth or finish. They just do one thing at a time. So we really felt there was a need for a product that maybe could, encapsulate everything right there in one product. And so our idea is if we could do that, make a product that works great and offer it at a competitive price, we could be real successful.
When we talk about developing new products like that, how long does it take to research and test that product before you actually go to market?
Well, from the time we first had the idea till we released it, it probably took about 6 months. Just from figuring out what we wanted to put in there and then doing the research to make sure, you do everything at the proper levels and do the nutrients the right way, to testing it and having some guys try it out and taking that feedback and tweaking things if you need to, and making sure when you release the product you got something that's one of a kind and does the right job.
When we talk about in the show ring, if you want to stand alone, what better fitting name?
Yeah, and we went round and round and thought about names the whole time we were developing it, and when we got to the name StandAlone, we just thought it was fitting. I mean, at the end of the show, if you want to be out there by yourself, getting the slap from the judge and taking that picture on the backdrop, you're going to be standing alone, and so we thought it was just a perfect name for a product.
Well, and that's what it's all about. The winning starts back home, so you have to have that edge back home. Once they get here, the weather's hot, but it doesn't seem to affect the cattle at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. All these cattle nowadays, the genetics are getting so good, and there's so many good animals out there that there's just not that much to separate these cattle. And so you got to find something to give you that little bit of edge, and we think our product does that. And, our goal is to make sure that we have a product that if you're not feeding it, you're probably at a disadvantage to those customers of ours that are feeding it. And I think, you see from the guys in this industry that feed it and have been real successful over the years, they don't just feed anything. So I think our products prove that.
Let's go back and talk about your background in the cattle industry and how the concept happened.
Well, I mean, really, when I started pretty young showing cattle, just like, these kids here, I've always had a passion for it and really enjoyed it, and, was always trying to be competitive. And then, going through college and judging, livestock, I think you learn a lot through the years, just being around some of these guys in this industry. And then managed a commercial ranch for years, which kind of gave me a different perspective from what we see here in the show ring. And then, from now to working for this feed company, I just, it kind of all came together, and I think gave me the ability to, kind of find some needs that were out there, and, give us the idea to promote this product and make it.
With StandAlone Feed, it's a liquid supplement, a little bit different than some of the other supplements that are out there. Let's talk about how to feed it.
Yeah, well, I think, with these supplements out there, and like we kind of touched on before, they're all geared towards maybe only one aspect of the animal, and you get to the point where you're feeding a whole lot of things other than just feed. And so with StandAlone, you can eliminate the confusion and the, what it takes to feed 4 or 5 products. And besides the fact that it gets real costly, and these kids are trying to do projects on a budget,
sure.
With StandAlone, we eliminate all that mess, and we're going to one product. You top dress it on the feed. You can do it once a day or twice a day. We recommend twice, morning and night. You can put it on the feed, and cattle go right to it. Big thing about it is, the better you mix it in the feed, I think the better they're going to eat all their feed overall.
For these younger cattle, let's say if we're talking about a steer or heifer out there that's 700-800 pounds, what kind of ratio or how much are we feeding?
Well, the label says 12 ounces, and that's kind of where things are formulated, and that's for a bigger animal. So what we see a lot of our customers doing, and see good results, and we kind of recommend, is when you first get that calf and you're first bringing them home and getting them on feed, you start them about half the recommended dose, around 6 ounces, and then as you go through the year, you can kind of bump it up. Now, once they get 800 pounds or so, or like these prospects that showed here at the State Fair of Texas yesterday, they should be on the full amount of StandAlone. And then also it's, it allows you to do a lot of different things. You can hold cattle on it, you can push cattle on it. So, if you got an animal that's behind and you need to get that extra weight on them and make up some ground, you can feed quite a bit over that recommended dose and really get that extra, extra juice to them where they really gain weight well and convert their feed properly. And at the same token, you can feed them that full rate and cut back on their other feed if you're trying to hold an animal. And all the nutrients are in StandAlone, so as you hold back on some of your other feeds, that animal is still going to meet all its nutrients requirements through StandAlone and keep them fresh and keep them looking good and hold that muscle shape together while you're holding on them.
Well, if you're headed to a major show or a county fair, if you want to StandAlone, there's no better product then StandAlone Feed. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us, and we wish you good luck. Now, if someone wants to get a hold of you guys to find out a little bit more about the product, how would they go about that?
Well, you can go to standalonefeed.com and view our website. There's a contact email and phone number, as well as a list of our dealers. You can contact any one of our dealers and find who's closest to you in your neighborhood. If you don't have one close to you, you can order online at standalonefeed.com and we'll ship it right to your door.
Cool, thanks.
Yep, thank you.